Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today for our Seasonal Affective Disorder webinar. My name is Cyrus, I'm owner and formulator for Pure Lab Vitamins here in Ottawa. I'd like to keep this intro brief because we have a lot of material to cover. During this presentation you can type questions in the Q&A section on your screen anytime, but please keep in mind I will answer many of your early questions throughout the presentation. Linda from our team will browse through these questions in the background and will answer what she can, leaving the big questions for me to answer live after the presentation. So stay tuned for that, please. Anyone registered for this webinar will receive a link to the recording in the next couple of days. It'll also go up and get posted on our website and our YouTube channel. So no need to take large volumes of notes. I would rather like you to listen and follow the presentation. Okay, let's get cracking. Seasonal Affective Disorder. It's a funny name, a funny term for a not so funny condition. Even the abbreviation turns out to be S.A.D or S.A.D. Today's talking points are: what is seasonal affective disorder? What are the causes and symptoms? Who's affected by it? And what therapies are currently being used? And what are the natural treatment options and dosage recommendations? There's a number of factors or causes that are considered contributing factors. One, the changes of light and darkness at the beginning of winter, but also for those dealing with shift work, frequent jet lag, and stress, that can have an effect on our so-called circadian rhythm, our inner clock. Biochemically, our production of serotonin, a brain chemical that affects mood, is reduced when our exposure to sunlight is reduced. And this may trigger depression, and this is why SSRIs, drugs that upregulate serotonin levels, have been developed to treat depression. But there are also a lot of natural measures we can put into place to keep serotonin levels where they should be. We'll talk about those more towards the end of the webinar. Melatonin levels are affected by daylight and darkness. The body produces melatonin in response to darkness to prepare for sleep. More darkness could mean more melatonin, thus also more sleepiness and less drive during the day. And there's research suggesting that a melatonin imbalance may be the contributing factor in S.A.D. Light therapy in the morning would be the tool to counteract melatonin. It would help you get your day started. Finally, we need to talk about vitamin D3. Current research shows a mixed bag of results with vitamin D3. But most of these studies have significant limitations in regards to low number of participants or much too low doses of vitamin D3. And they were performed without vitamin D blood level monitoring. If low doses were given to vitamin D deficient patients with S.A.D, you can imagine the outcome of that study must have been subtherapeutic. We have a whole segment on vitamin D3 coming up. But before we get into the treatment options, I'd like to provide some more interesting stuff and stats. First, what are S.A.D symptoms? The Mayo Clinic cites the following symptoms as common: feeling depressed most of the day and nearly every day, losing interest in activities you once enjoyed, having low energy, having problems with sleeping, including oversleeping, changes in appetite or weight, especially the craving for high carb foods, feeling sluggish and or agitated at the same time, difficulty concentrating, including brain fog. Those are the most common symptoms. According to the Canadian Mental Health Association, 2 to 3% of Canadians will experience S.A.D in their lifetime. From my point of view, this is heavily underreported, most likely due to underdiagnosis. 10% of all cases of depression in Canada are attributed to S.A.D. And here's a shocker: women are 9 times more likely to be diagnosed than men. That is significant. And SAD affects women primarily in their 20s and 30s, and the risk actually declines after the age of 50. Stress, I think, is the factor here. People living in the northern or southern hemisphere are more likely to experience SAD than those who live closer to the equator, because the amount of daylight you receive changes as you move north or south. And this change is thought to be part of SAD. So it's no surprise that our first treatment option involves light. This is known as light box therapy. 60 to 80% of people with SAD experience improvement of symptoms, and that's very significant. And these devices, they emit a special type of light providing around 10,000 lux of output. And as discussed before, this light should be used first thing each morning to counteract melatonin, and maybe again mid-morning at home or at work. You should sit about 2 feet away from these light boxes for 20 to 90 minutes per day. For example, 20 minutes with breakfast and then again 60 minutes at work in the morning. This light mimics sunlight that is missing during the winter season. It encourages the brain to make less melatonin during the dark days of fall and winter, and encourages the brain to make more serotonin, our feel-good neurotransmitter. Also good to know, these devices will not harm your skin because there is no damaging UV light in the spectrum. But this also means we have to supplement with vitamin D3, because these light boxes will not help us make our own vitamin D3 ourselves. The next treatment option, and in my opinion it's not an option at all, but a necessity, is regular exercise daily. Exercise, especially early in the day, not late at night, has been shown and proven to help regulate circadian rhythm, which is important in treating SAD. Try to exercise outdoors as much as possible, even during the winter, if possible. Daily exercise releases endorphins, and these are feel-good brain chemicals that reduce pain, improve sleep, which in turn then reduces stress and improves mood. Simple as that. Daily exercise. The muscle pump during exercise improves circulation all over the body, and this allows the tissues to cleanse and detox. Best time for exercise for SAD is morning to maybe early afternoon. Exercise is also, by the way, the best remedy to help with anxiety. Next on the treatment option list is diet. Try to limit the sugar swings associated with high-carb foods and sweets. Coming down from a sugar high increases irritability and lowers mood. Eat more lean protein and dark green leafy vegetables. Use good fats like coconut oil or ghee, clarified butter. So we have now heard of many factors that play a role in the development of SAD: circadian rhythm, serotonin, melatonin, and vitamin D levels. Exercise and lack thereof, and diet. But there's one more factor that everyone is exposed to, and that is stress. Stress affects sleep and circadian rhythm. It suppresses serotonin production, melatonin production, and vitamin D blood levels actually drop during the times of acute stress. So you might say, what can we do about stress? No, it's not that we're choosing to be stressed, and you're right. But there actually are quite a few measures that help reduce stress or even better, change your ability to handle stress. Most of us go through a stressful day, heads down, just trying to cope. We breathe shallow, stop reflecting. We are in a reactive state. We just want it to be done with. No? But if you raise your head and look at what or who is causing your stress, you can identify your stresses and become proactive. You need to acknowledge your stresses. Look them straight into the eye and then remove those you can remove and alter your attitude towards those you cannot remove. No? I know that's easier said than done, but a job that stresses you out day after day is not worth keeping. It'll make you sick. A partner or friend that stresses you out day after day is not worth keeping either. We only have one life, so you might as well try to enjoy it, right? So in essence, to me, there is not one outstanding treatment option. I think it has to be a concerted and conscious effort of diet, lifestyle changes, and also targeted supplementation. So let's move on to supplements and start with vitamin D3. Several studies show that the symptoms of SAD may be due to the changing blood levels of vitamin D3, which may further affect serotonin levels in the brain. Vitamin D and serotonin are connected. Health Canada still recommends 1,000 units per day. But just to give you an idea how little that is, your body, if dressed in loincloth and exposed to equatorial sunlight for 12 hours, like our ancestors, will produce 10 to 25,000 IUs per day. But we live in Canada, exposing only really small fraction of our body surface area to only minutes of sunlight per day for 5 to 7 months of the year. Enough said, eh? We have to supplement and monitor our own vitamin D blood levels to better understand how much we as individuals need. The Canadian reference range is between 75 and 150 millimoles of vitamin D per liter of blood. The average Canadian should aim for at least 75. And then continue to monitor during the winter and also spot check in the summer. But a Canadian suffering from SAD should aim for at least mid-range, and that's 112 millimoles per liter, or even the upper percentile of the reference range, around 125. And you should not start this kind of supplementation after full-blown SAD has already hit you, but much rather have good blood levels of vitamin D before the winter blues arrives. Mainstream medicine needs to take individual vitamin D levels and testing a lot more serious. For mental health, for immune health, including COVID, for bone and cardiovascular health. So please check out my vitamin D optimization video on our YouTube channel. Just enter Pure Lab Vitamins into the YouTube search bar and all the videos pop up. Next on my list is magnesium. You might say he always goes on about magnesium. I do, but with good reason. We do not get enough. Back in 2010, about 80% of the Canadian population was deficient. Today, in 2021, that's probably more 90%. Magnesium has many, many functions. But for this webinar, I'd like to just point out a few key features. Think of magnesium as the body's relaxer of muscle and mind. Magnesium suppresses the release of stimulating neurotransmitters. This means without magnesium, we are much more stimulated and less relaxed. Low magnesium inhibits the conversion of tryptophan to 5-HTP, which then reduces the production of serotonin and melatonin. Studies have shown magnesium deficiency contributes to numerous mental health problems, including stress, anxiety, insomnia, and depression. 3 of my capsules provide the RDA, the recommended daily amount, but if you are starting out deficient, you need to provide the RDA, 3 caps per day, and plus some extra in the beginning to replenish deep tissues. As discussed before, there's research suggesting that melatonin imbalance may be a contributing factor in SAD. But many people suffering from SAD also have trouble sleeping. So why not elevate melatonin before bedtime to help with sleep and then counteract it with light box therapy in the morning, so that you're not too sleepy throughout the day and that you're actually starting your day energized. Magnesium and melatonin work together. There's true synergy. Magnesium helps the body's melatonin production. To help you fall asleep, you would take your magnesium melatonin 60 minutes before lights out. To help you stay asleep, take it at lights out as late as possible. If you're dealing with frequent sleep interruptions, to train your system into a better solid sleep cycle, Take full dose, 3 capsules, for at least 4 weeks straight, even if initial sleep results are not satisfactory. This way you are aiming to overwrite your inner clock and train it into one more solid sleep cycle. Usually works. 2 more supplements and we're done. So let's maybe all take a deep breath. No? Relaxation and sleep is important during S.A.D, but we also need to energize our days. For exercise, detox and stress, we use B-complex vitamins. They energize us, and more energy means more motivation and strength. They cleanse us. More Bs mean better detox. And they clear the fog. A clear brain means more focus and, again, less stress. But B vitamins are water soluble and they flush through us very quickly. A regular B complex works for only 60 to 90 minutes. Pure Lab's bioactive B complex contains all the Bs in active form, but most importantly, they come in a slow release formulation. And the proof is in the P, not the pudding. You take 2 capsules of our B complex in the morning and you will still pee yellow in the afternoon or early evening. With this product you are maintaining B vitamin blood levels for 8 to 10 hours. Huge difference, and you can actually feel that. Last one is L-theanine. It's an amino acid first found in green tea in the 1950s. An average cup of green tea contains around 8 to 10 milligrams of L-theanine. So one of our 250 milligram capsules is actually equivalent to 25 cups of tea, but without the caffeine, polyphenols or pesticides, 1 capsule. And because we only use the pure L-form L-theanine in our capsules. It reduces nervousness and restlessness, helps increase focus during times of stress, and it does that by inhibiting the effects of the stress hormones epinephrine and norepinephrine, while at the same time upregulating serotonin, dopamine and GABA. And this is practically exactly the mirror image of what stress does to us, which is why some people call L-theanine nature's antidote to stress. We make 3 different kinds of L-theanine, but for the S.A.D application, I would always recommend the slow release form. You can take 2 or 3 capsules throughout the day to help with stress, anxiety and depression. And you could take an extra 1 or 2 capsules at bedtime with magnesium and melatonin to support sleep. Works like a charm. So phew, you made it through. But there's always more. I wanted to point out one last thing. And that is, I believe, of interest to anyone dealing with any kind of depression. You will agree it is very difficult to measure or compare the level of depression you are experiencing. How could you explain how you feel to someone else? It's very hard to put in words, but there's a way to do that. It's called the Hamilton Depression Rating Scale, also sometimes called HAM-D. You can just Google this term or wait for the webinar recording and enter this link into your system. It is a questionnaire, and the first 17 questions will allow you to translate how you feel into a number score. And this can be very helpful to understand the severity of your condition for yourself, but it also allows you to reassess your state after you have started to incorporate light box therapy, exercise, diet and lifestyle changes, and maybe a certain supplemental regime. You then, without peaking, you do the test again, without kind of looking what your previous scores were, and answer honestly and real, and then all of a sudden you see how your score has changed. The results will keep you motivated to continue with all these measures, because with all these measures in place, you will see your score improve significantly. And you'll also certainly feel much better. Then there's one other link. It'll bring you to another questionnaire called the Seasonal Pattern Assessment Questionnaire. It's by the Mood Disorder Association of Manitoba, and this is a tool to determine and assess whether the depression you are experiencing is truly a seasonal disorder or not. Can also be of help. So that was it for today's presentation. You made it. I hope everyone is still awake, and at this point I would like to thank our participating retail partners that help promote this event. Most of them have specials going on for the next few days in support of this event, so check back with these stores. And I will now get ready to check if there's any questions. Please just give me a moment and stay tuned. Thanks. So we're switching a few things around technologically. Just bear with me. Here we go. There's currently no questions, which is unusual. Usually they just come flooding in right after the presentation, so I keep an eye on that. There has been, at this point, no other question emailed in, so I have nothing to start with. So if there are any questions, just let me know and we'll go through them one by one. I should play some music at this point. Oh, there's the first one. I know they would be coming. This is a question from Emilia. Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you. Emilia asks, I believe you said L-theanine gives energy, yet it's good to take at bedtime, ? That's exactly right. It's kind of an oxymoron, but L-theanine has been studied heavily in ADD, ADHD, and helped kids, teenagers of various groups significantly in maintaining focus. Many of them were actually able to get through their school day without the need for prescription drugs, stimulating drugs. But it significantly helps us focus more by down-regulating our stress response. Especially those individuals that are suffering from stress overnight with racing thoughts, repetitive thoughts that you can't really shake. In these instances, and that oftentimes happens in the early morning hours, where you kind of wake up and your brain's already revving in repeat mode, that can be significantly and beneficially influenced with L-theanine there as well. The slow release form of L-theanine is very helpful. It doesn't make you sleepy, but it downregulates your revving brain. And that kind of allows you to then actually sleep through this early morning rising and hopefully not wake up with busy brain. I hope that was that. Oh yeah, there's Patricia asking, please say more about the Manitoba S.A.D test. Yeah, it's really just a very simple questionnaire that kind of you answer honestly and real. And again, with a number score, and in the end, you will be, the score that you achieve kind of tells you how, on the full scale of depression, how likely you are to be only seasonally affected compared to a full-on clinical depression that might not have seasonal effects or impact. It's a simple tool, but I think quite helpful in distinguishing these things for yourself. The HAM-D, the Hamilton Rating Scale, is, I think, the much more valuable tool because you can really do this at home, answer the questions without peeking each time, and you can really see your progression in a number scale. And I think it should go hand in hand with feeling better accordingly. And this can be very helpful. Here's a question from Sue. When will you do another Zoom? Well, practically we're trying every month. Oftentimes that ends up to be every second month, but they will be coming. There's one scheduled for January on cognitive health, for brain health, which will be very interesting. There's also a new product coming out, hopefully for that I won't reveal today. Jean is asking whether it's best to use the light or start with vitamins, or which one to start first with. This is how I understand this question. I believe at this time of year, where days are already getting darker, I think it would be a good chance to experiment with light, maybe even start investigating what kind of products there are. We have this tiny little mobile device here with 10,000 lux from Verilux. I think it's a good product. There's much bigger ones that kind of sit on your desk and have like, it's almost like a light wall that you can expose yourself with. I believe that size does matter in this case, but it's, if you don't want to carry that between breakfast and work unless you work from home. But you got to kind of get a bit of idea there which one works best for you. I would start with light. I would most certainly start with vitamin D3 now. If you haven't already started yet, I would figure out your dose that you feel comfortable with, use it for 2-3 weeks, and then get a blood work requisition form and actually assess your blood levels with that dose, because then you have information whether you as an individual potentially require more to reach a blood level of at least 75, better 125. Even now, the whole discussion about the current blood level reference ranges for vitamin D3 they're very controversial. Many practitioners recommend higher doses. I cannot really, or higher blood levels, and I cannot really do this because I'm not practicing in this field with patient records and so forth. There's many reasons as a manufacturer that kind of prohibit me from recommending this. I would definitely consider B vitamins in the morning to energize your day, to kind of take that energy and find ways to exercise. And by the way, exercise doesn't mean you have to like have a CrossFit gym every day, but you can find ways to incorporate exercise into your day. Walk stairs, walk to work, get off the bus 10 minutes earlier and walk the stretch if possible. Walking is fantastic, and especially if you also engage your arms a little bit, use the fancy Nordic walking poles to engage the muscles and the muscle pump in the arms as well. Bicycle, you name it, go swimming, mix up your week, but make a schedule and kind of incorporate or try to incorporate exercise into every day. Magnesium is, from my point of view, a no-brainer for anybody anyways, at least at regular doses. If there is any kind of consideration that you think you are magnesium deficient, which is very likely, you might want to use a higher dose in the beginning for a few weeks and then kind of dose down to maintenance to kind of coast along on a replenished reservoir of magnesium. I think that would answer your question. Then there's a question. Oh, good. Suzanne asked, are there any contraindications for L-theanine and people of antidepressants or antipsychotic medications? No, no, no. L-theanine is an amino acid, and there's no known contraindications. There is no known overdose or toxic levels known. It's absolutely benign and works and can be added on to any kind of pre-existing prescription cocktail. No problem there. Patricia asks, where do I get the light box? We're living in a pandemic with where internet access is omnipresent. Start searching. There's definitely many retailers in town. Many health food stores carry light box devices. You can, I'm sure there is ratings of these products with pros and cons. There's always Amazon that has, I don't know, 50 different devices available. But I would actually take some time and read up. When it comes to intensity, the 10,000 lux is always kind of a benchmark. I believe that a bigger device can emit potentially a lot more without kind of causing any skin problems, because they come with UV light filtered out. Please keep in mind, this is not sunlight. That means you still have to maintain vitamin D levels by supplementation. There's no other way for us to get it unless you spend your winter in the south. Yeah, so yeah, there's information is out there in many ways. Sue asked the same question. And then Susan asked, what time of day should we take vitamin D? Doesn't matter at all. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. It doesn't flush in and out. It actually circulates. Vitamin D should be taken daily from my point of view, even though there's many medical doctors that recommend mega doses once a week. I don't see the benefit of that compared to a stable vitamin D dose every day. I think it is much, much more important to actually gain knowledge about your vitamin D levels that you achieve with any certain dose. I would never recommend, like, for anybody out there to just start with 10,000 or 20,000 units of vitamin D3 right from the get-go. You would start with maybe 2,000 or 3,000 units, and then at some point measure your blood levels that you achieve with that dose, and then you see the level that you achieve with that dose. If you're still way below reference range, then you have evidence that you as an individual require more. You know? And you would maybe go up to 5,000, 6,000 units, and then at some point test again. Vitamin D testing is not covered by OAT, by the way. Most labs charge between $30 and $45 per test. But to me, this is money well spent, because by optimizing your vitamin D levels, you're not only you're not allowing your brain to kind of balance out serotonin and melatonin, you're also giving your immune system a huge boost. There is a lot of evidence that proper vitamin D blood levels help you fight off infections, any kind of infection, including COVID, much more efficiently. Obviously, vitamin D3 doesn't protect you against the virus infection, but it helps your immune system to prevent a more drastic outcome or course of the disease. And that is well established and proven. I hope that answers your question, Susan. And that seems to be the end of it. Must have been a good webinar. Usually we spend 15, 20 minutes just on the Q&A alone. So yeah, you're getting a recording, a link to the recording within the next couple of days. Anybody registered gets that. And I also invite you, if there are further questions popping, don't hesitate to email me through info@purelabvitamins.com. Just write in question for Cyrus. I will tell you though, I'm off duty for the next 2 days, and then there's my weekend coming, so I won't be answering before beginning of next week. There's one other one. Oh, it's just the thank yous are coming. Oh, there's another question from Sue. Yeah, that's the the nature of the beast in Canada. For a nurse to put a needle in your arm, you need a requisition form. No nurse, no lab in Canada will do this without a doctor's requisition. Many naturopaths now also have ordering rights for blood work. Naturopaths usually charge for this service, and they also oftentimes are set up with the labs and have an account. That means you actually pay the naturopath for the individual blood work, and then get added benefit or value from them, because where a doctor oftentimes simply looks at the report and looks whether there's anything out of range, a naturopath actually spends time thinking about your case before they even see you to discuss the result, and you get a lot more input and consideration from a naturopath than from a medical doctor. Sometimes you have certain up and down trends within range that can already indicate something is out of balance. And I have yet to see, like, well, let's say the majority of medical doctors don't consider these things. Naturopaths do, at least good ones. So for that reason, I think there is value in going with a naturopathic doctor, but they also charge, like the testing is actually slightly more expensive than testing ordered by medical doctors. Vitamin D is always cash, but you have to convince your doctor to authorize the testing. Maybe the video that I have on the YouTube channel, Vitamin D Optimization, helps in this regard. I would not just ask for one requisition form. I would actually go boldly out and ask for 4 or 5. This way, then you can go back to the lab 3-4 weeks later after you adjusted your dose to then reassess your blood levels with the adjusted dose. Once you have 2 blood work points, you can draw a graph if you are so inclined and actually extrapolate the graph, and you would be much quicker in finding the dose of vitamin D that should get you exactly into the middle of the range. Then you would again take that dose for 2-3 weeks to establish constant blood levels in your blood, and then test again to verify your calculation. I hope this is of help to you. That was Sue again. Angelique says thank you. Thank you. Heather says thank you. Thank you as well. And Maria says thank you. Yeah, well, again, if there anything comes to mind, maybe after rewatching, don't hesitate to email us at info@purelabvitamins.com. Question for Cyrus. It ends on my desk anyway. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you all for watching. And again, thank you all to the retail partners supporting this event. We had a very good outcome. There's still a lot of people here listening, unless some of them fell asleep. I don't know. See you next time in January.